Hi everyone. I have read your work from week 2 and posted feedback in Blackboard for you to review. The rubric has your paper and your PowerPoint built in together in the same rubric, so you'll be able to find all the comments loaded there. Your papers related to practice changes and innovation were really interesting. What I remember in being in practice for 23 years, I remember the good old days when we charted with paper and pencil and we weren't even allowed to use pencil. It was paper and pen. Any error you made had to have the one line drawn through it and your initials above it, no whiteout. Red ink was only used in the medication record, and all the medication records were done in triplicates. You had to press really hard when you were transcribing from the physician's order sheet onto the medical medication record. Those were the good old days when things were simple. What we know from the simplicity was that we were also error prone. So the advent of new ideas and innovation in healthcare has really been targeted to improve patient outcomes and to improve patient safety. I thought it was really interesting how several of you connected similar dots in innovation in your practice area. When I looked at Heidi, Sally, and Angie, who are all in maternal child in some fashion, talked about the changes in skin-to-skin care and doing testing on a newborn when mom and baby were bonding or the baby was on the mom's skin as a comfort measure. I thought it was interesting. You know, we have Heidi, who's out in Colorado, and the other two ladies are in North Carolina. Hundreds and hundreds of miles of difference, but their experience in innovation in the same practice area were pretty similar. So that was really interesting to see. Many of you looked at some of the similar changes that I had talked about with barcoding. Melissa talked about the importance of how barcoding improved patient safety. So I thought that was great. Amy talked about the awareness of pain assessments and how over time we've learned the impact of pain and how that has become the fifth vital sign. So that was a good innovation. Angeline talked about the hospital-acquired infections and what we've done to eradicate those. And she actually talked about an algorithm that was used for catheter infections in her practice area. Elizabeth had a bedside telemetry program to facilitate diagnosing cardiac issues in a way that helped track patients more efficiently. And then Harley talked about the electronic health record, but the challenge in Harley's discussion was that it was done in the military model, and anyone that's ever had any contact with the Veterans Hospital realizes that in some ways they're late adopters. So having the change of innovation with the electronic health record within the VA hospital has its own unique challenges. What was remarkable for me as I read all of these great innovations was what we're learning about the value of research and evidence-based practice. So much of what you folks were talking about is really supported with good science and good research that led to the innovation. So it's not innovation for innovation's sake or change for change's sake. There's actually good science behind it, and I was really impressed that you all were pulled that together and made that pretty clear. When we looked at your PowerPoints, many of those were done very, very well. Good ideas, great insights again. One of the things that really struck me in one of them was Angel Lynn's put a biblical reference that's from Romans 12:2. And what Romans 12:2 tells us is, and this is the New International Version, is do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and improve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. I love the idea that in our faith life, we are always being challenged to seek God's face, to seek God's will in our life, to always be reinventing ourselves and improving and finding better ways to serve him. what a great practice model for our own innovation in our own practice areas if we use the same thinking, which is that we should always be growing, we should always be challenging ourselves to find better ways to be better nurses, better bedside leaders, and better executive leaders. So I appreciate Angel Lynn pulling that verse in and reminding me as a reader what that looked like. From a APA format standpoint, the writing was done really well. I don't have anything major with the papers. PowerPoints tend to be either somebody's niche thing where they really get it, or they're a little intimidated by it. I'm going to encourage you to think about what it looks like when someone is watching your PowerPoint and what aesthetics would make it easier for the person to read. Always be thinking about how many words are on a slide. Are you using large paragraphs versus bullet points? The other thing that I think people struggle with is to use or not to use pictures and graphs. Some of our research tells us that the word clip art, the cute little bubble people and the cartoons, that's really passé and it's not seen as professional. Google Images has a huge, thousands and thousands of great images that are professional and that really supplement your work. If the work that you're doing doesn't lend itself to appropriate pictures or graphs, changing the color of font. One of you, I can't remember who it was, used a font color to highlight keywords in a slide. And what a great thing as a reader that I can hone in on, this person's getting ready to talk about innovation, or this person's going to talk about, this topic. It helps the reader stay engaged. If all I see is a white slide with black print, I'm likely to start doing my grocery list in the back of my head. So we don't want to just be factually accurate and giving the content that is relevant to our audience, but we want to keep them dialed in. So I think those are some important cues to be mindful of. The other thing that I didn't take any points off, but it's one of those things that I learned as I was learning PowerPoint slide etiquette, was if you used bullet points of any format to make a list on a slide, that each of your bullet points did not end with a period. That so messes with my brain. I want to type something out with a bullet point and put a period because that's my way of telling my reader I'm done with that idea. But format-wise, those things don't have periods on them. The exception to that is if they are complete sentences. And the reason you should be wary is if you are using complete sentences on a PowerPoint in a bullet format, you need to be wondering whether you have too many words on your slide and whether you're not using the best method to convey that information. So again, that's not something that I expect you guys as general PowerPoint users to know. But if you want to wow someone that's going to be super critical of your work, someone that's in information technology, they may be very impressed if you lose all the periods. Okay, so next week let's talk about just your assignment asks you to explore a conflict. Let me caution you to seek a really significant conflict. If you pick a minor interpersonal conflict, it makes the assignment really difficult. Think about the one time in your practice that you really were being stretched, that you really were struggling in a conflict. For me, it's the time I cried or the time I wanted to hide in the break room. Think about those periods in your profession when you really were struggling and use that exemplar to build this assignment on it. It will flow better for you and you'll have more of a rich discussion. And make sure you follow the rubric as it's laid out. Please know that my normal pattern is to grade early in the week. I have some things going on personally. Next week, my son is doing his enlistment oath into the U.S. Navy on Tuesday. So I'm going to be traveling to Fort Lee, which is south of Petersburg, for those of you Virginia folks, to see him do that Tuesday morning and hug and kiss him goodbye as he ships off. So I will do as much as I can Monday before I leave. Whatever else is done, I'll catch up on Tuesday and Wednesday. But just know that it's going to be different than my normal pattern. So I wanted to let you know. As you go through this, if you have questions, concerns, if you have anything you want to discuss, I don't want you to hesitate to contact me. Know that I'm virtually there, and I will post your announcements next week unless I hear anything else from you. You guys take care. Have a great week.